plan your evening tomorrow carefully. Don't miss out. Don't stay home. Tomorrow's Thursday. Yes. So this is Clyde Wendell Schmits slot. Is this your first show here?
This is the first show here, yeah.
All right.
All right. Welcome, Clyde.
Here's Clyde.
Will I get any feedback through this?
I don't think so. Yeah.
For the speaker like that, and then
One. A little bit of that. I've sort of been absent from the area for about 15 years, so it's a little bit more going on than when I left it. Actually, tonight I thought I would discuss the natural history of slime molds and other topics of political interest. It's been a really up and down year. There's been some real up thrills this year politically. Of course, last spring they told us that Bush had heart disease, and which was well, at least we knew that he had one. I mean, that was an open question up to that point. And then they told us, of course, that it wasn't heart disease. Actually, he had atrial fibrillation, or AFib. And no, that's true. That's what I. Among other things, I work in an emergency room. What it is, I dropped out a while back and went to medical school at 40, and because I needed a way to forage, the way that I've been foraging up to that point had not been adequate but in any case, so that's what atrial fibrillation is called. It's called AFib. It's just what it is. So in any case, finding out that Bush had AFib, there was considering all the lies that he hasn't told us about where he was in this fall of 1988 when they were, right. He wasn't in Paris, he says. He was in Paris, I don't know. Maybe he was in Versailles.
Paris the whole year.
Right. In any case, if he's just down to one fib, maybe the truth can't be far behind. Georgia, of course, is the former head of the CIA, and the difference between the CIA and the KGB. The CIA lies in English. Or in any case, that used to be the difference. But Baker was in Moscow last week to see the head of the globe. He got into the inner sanctum. They took him into the Lubyanka prison. Supposedly, he was there negotiating with the Russians. And actually, what they decided is that the Russians get most favored nation trade status, and Bush gets a corner office in the Lubyanka prison. That the CIA and the KGB are going to be the same organization, and Baker was there choosing the wallpaper for Bush's new office. Actually, Bush was the head of the CIA in 1976. Richard Nixon appointed him, and actually then he went underground, right? He went into a covert operation. It was called, the operation actually is called Operation Democratic Front, right? So the idea is that this is the appearance of democracy, and so that that's what that's what it's on. You know, and in any case, before I go any farther, I wanted to clear up a point or two. I like to be straightforward and upfront about who I am. Actually, I'm only passing. I'm really American Indian. Although, you know, we're neither Americans nor Indians. We're descended from a group of Chinese refugees who crossed the Bering Strait about 40,000 years ago. And I'm Cherokee. I'm descended from some survivors of the Trail of Tears. For those of you who are not familiar with it, the Trail of Tears is, well, it was a sort of baton death march in American style. In an American-style death march, you include the women and children. In 1839, a typical government operation, the Cherokee actually went to the Supreme Court, and Chief Justice Marshall said, you can't move them out of their homelands in North Carolina. And President Jackson said, the Supreme Court has spoken, let them enforce it. And so they planned to transfer the Cherokee, about 10,000. And the idea was that it was supposed to start in the middle of the summer, but, you know, in typical government fashion, they didn't start walking until halfway through October, and they had a rather cold November, so by the time they had walked the 1,500 to 2,000 miles up the Tennessee Valley and across what is Illinois and through the Ozarks to Oklahoma, they lost about 25% of their people. And one of my ancestors survived that particular walk. Although to be really straight about it, I'm really what the Cherokee would call a no-blood. That is to say, even though my mother did receive $125 in head rights, which was her part of her father's patrimony as a member of the Cherokee Nation. Head rights are sort of back damages for the rape of Virginia. In any case, it does one thing. It gives me a sort of binocular view on the world. It allows me, whenever I get an attack of mole disease. Do you know what mole? Have any of you ever had mole disease? Very common American disease. It's sort of like psoriasis. It's a periodic itch, and what it is, it's this, you get this itching sensation, this feeling that if you just go out and buy something, you know, if I could just get that close-up lens that I always wanted for my camera, then I could do the definitive series of photographs on the life history of the slime mold, and they'd be so beautiful that they'd be shown at the Museum of Modern Art, and then I would not have to work anymore. I could be an artist and just do beautiful things. Right? That's all that's between me and my happiness, is this lens. You know, the slime mold. Actually, the slime, you know slime molds? Very interesting, very good. It's not the one they broke when they made George Bush. Unfortunately, they didn't break the mold when they made George Bush. There's about 20,000 people that were cast from exactly the same mold. They're spooks, and they live and work in Langley, Virginia,